want you guys to ask your questions tonight. I want you to be a part of the conversation. So, but it is 8:02. We're going to go ahead and get started because we got a lot to talk about. And I'm really, really excited about this topic because it is something that impacts a lot of people. It's impacted me personally. And so have, the guests that I have on tonight. So before I get started, I want to introduce myself. Okay. So I'm Chidima Newsom, also known as Author Chi. I'm a best-selling author, and I'm also a life after divorce coach. So I help people redesign their best life after divorce, because just because you're divorced doesn't mean you're damaged. You can still have a really beautiful life afterwards. I'm the one that helps you to do that. So through my one-on-one coaching, but also through content like this, through Author Chi Talks, where we talk about topics that concern the divorce community, the breakup community, or anyone that's trying to do relationships the right way and they need some guidance. That's what this platform is here for. So tonight we are talking about toxic love, why we stay even when it hurts. Ooh, y'all, we're going to get into it right now, okay? So we have two amazing special guests tonight. I'm going to go ahead and bring them on with me. Kendall Anise and Myron Johnson. Hey, y'all.
Hey, hi,
everybody. Hey. Yeah, so we were able to, I'll introduce Kendall first. I know we met like 2 weeks ago and it was like an instant connection. I'm like, I love her, But one thing I really enjoy about you is that, you speak the truth in love. You don't, hold kind of, your perspective, but you also do in a way that lands well with people. And I really, really enjoy that. And I also enjoy your 3 H's, and hopefully you can tell us about that. But Kendall Anise is a transformational life coach, and she's also a remix coach. I want to know what that is. But you've been doing this for over 20 years, coaching relationships and, speaking all over and really helping change lives when it comes to helping us do relationships the right way. So I'm going to stop talking. I want you to tell a little bit more about yourself.
Hi, everybody. Again, as Chi said, I am Kendall Anise. I go by the Remix Coach, and I also go by Lady Motivator. So some people might know me that way. And I say the Remix Coach is because my saying that I coined is it's never too late to remix your life. So that's something that I stand on, because sometimes remixing your life is a matter of life and death. And I've remixed my life 1,000 times over. So I show people how to do that in the form of transformation in many areas.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I have Myron J, the coach, on with me. So Myron, this is like not new to you. You're no stranger to Author Chi. You've been on here before. And the reason why I'm having you back is because you actually are a certified relationship coach as well, but you specialize in helping men heal from toxic relationships. I love that. So I'm like, I have to bring you on because I know you'll be able to give, a different perspective when it comes to toxic love. So welcome to the show. Tell us more about yourself.
Thanks for having me again. I owe you 2 favors now, so I got you coming up there.
I'm keeping tabs.
Yeah. So Myron J, the coach. I've been a life coach for a couple of years now, about 3 years now, but been doing something similar for at least almost 10 years or so. So I also got a book coming out. It's going to talk a little bit about the whole, probably pretty much what we're going to talk about today, actually. So it's perfect time. Got a book coming out.
Love it.
Hopefully about 2 or 3 weeks. So make sure y'all follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Myron J, the coach. And I'll have my little release date and everything going on that page.
I'm so
I didn't know we were
excited.
Are we plugging our books?
Yeah, come on with it. What you got?
Yes, please do. Do you have a book coming out, Kendall?
I have books out now, and I have one coming out. I have my Self-To and Self-Empowerment books on Amazon.com. The Best Gift Ever, A Guide to Loving You, Learning How to Live Your Life. And I also have Grow, Growth and Grace, Guide to Being Better, Wiser, and More Fulfilled. And I have my Personal Journey of Peace workbook, guided journal, that's coming out in about a month.
I love it. Look at this, just a whole bunch of authors in the building. I love it. I love it. So,
but I'm going to get Myron's book. I'm going to get that book, Myron. I'm going to get your book.
I got you back.
For sure.
Yes, we're gonna have a whole library in a minute. All these books going on, and so for me, I guess I'll plug in my book. I am the author of From Glass to Stone. It's an anthology, so it's a combination of 10 short stories, and we talk about from going from pain to power and how we were able to go through like these really tough situations in our life and how we were able to triumph. So it's an amazing read. If you go to Amazon, you can go to you purchase the book, or you can go to my website www.authorchi.com and purchase it there. So yes, so definitely a lot of great things happening amongst Kendall and Myron. I'm so excited about the books that are soon to be released. So again, without further ado, let's jump into the topic because there's people tuning in right now that's like, I've been waiting for this all week. I need some help. I need some guidance. And so the topic today is toxic relationships, why we stay even when it hurts. But before we talk about why we stay, I want to talk about what is a toxic relationship. What does that look and feel like? And I think everybody will kind of have their own definition based on their experience and based on kind of, as you all are coaches, you probably have stories from your clients or other individuals that you come in contact with and how you were able to come up with your definition of a toxic relationship. So I'll just pose that question out to either one of you to answer. What would you say the definitions of a toxic relationship is?
Go ahead, Miss Kendall.
Oh, all right. So I believe a toxic relationship is a relationship where you're arguing, fussing all the time. You just disrespect. It could be abuse. It could be where you're just not gelling. And no matter what you do, you keep banging heads like this and you're unable to really enjoy the relationship and have peace in the relationship. So it's almost like it's a void of peace. And if you're crying more than you're laughing and happy, then 9 times out of 10, you are in a toxic relationship.
Ooh, you better say that. You better say that. If you're crying more than you're laughing, it's probably toxic. Yes. Myron.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And we all have to understand that being in a toxic relationship is both verbal and physical. So we have to keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. Being in a relationship with a controlling person, a person wants things their way and their way only. If you feel like you're walking on eggshells, if you feel like you're just miserable majority of the time, just like Kendall was stating, then yes, you are in a toxic relationship. The constant lying, the disrespect, like she just stated, the dishonesty, that type of deal. So you're definitely in a toxic relationship. And it happens. Everybody has been in those before, but it's just what we do after or during to help ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's good. And you just named like some of those characteristics: controlling, jealousy, toxic communication, feeling like you're on eggshells. I think that's a big thing. For me, I would say, the toxic relationship for me was something that felt like, because I've been through one, it was draining and it brought out the worst in me. And I'm not a physical person.
Yes.
What I'm imagining me going upside your head with, a sharp object, it's probably something toxic. Okay. And I had moments where I felt like I wanted to be violent because it just brought out the worst parts of me. And it was changing me, that I was worse than I came into the relationship. And my family and my friends started to say, you're different, and not in a good way. And sometimes we have to listen to those voices of our loved ones because they love us and they know us. And we can think we know better. But sometimes when we're in a situation where we're in love, we can't see all that clearly as the people around us can. So we're going to talk a little bit about that because I think that's very important. And when your friends and family are starting to get concerned, it probably means that you're in a toxic relationship. Kendall, did you want to add to that?
Yeah. And if you're making everyone that encounters you miserable and unhappy as well. And like you said, if it's changing who you are innately, and if it's making you a worse person opposed to a better person, because if you're in a relationship and you're not growing or you're not becoming better or they're not enhancing you in any kind of way, whether it's spiritually, mentally, emotionally, or physically, then you have to question yourself and you have to question the relationship. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's toxic at that point, but you have to kind of nurse the relationship and watch the relationship and see. And I agree with you. You have to be able to listen to other people who are seeing you, whether you're changing or whether you're different, or if you're a person that's always happy and laughing and joking, and now you're sad and you're crying all the time, then you may be in a relationship that needs work. And like you said, if you're willing to work, it doesn't necessarily mean all the time that it's toxic and you have to leave, but it could mean that, and it could be signs that it is toxic. And then once those other things that we spoke about start to come into play, then you might want to look at that relationship a little closer, especially like you said, if you see if other people are saying, you know what, I don't know, you might want to just take a look at that a little further.
A little deeper, a little deeper. Absolutely. Before we move on from that, any Myron, did you have something else to add?
No, y'all own it.
Thank you. Okay. So why do we stay? I think this is the big thing here, because some people are in relationship like, I don't know why I'm still here. We broke up 15 times and we just keep getting back together. Okay. There's something going on with that, and I want to help people identify what that is. So Myron, did you want to go first as far as like why people stay?
Ooh,
come on now, tell us about it now.
This was just an hour. It's not like 2 or 3 or anything like that. I think we stay because there's always one person making empty promises for the moment. I'm going to change. I'm going to get some help. I'm not going to do this anymore. But the moment you get back into their relationship with them, they back at it again in the next few weeks or a month later, and then we keep falling into that whole guilt trip, and then we end up going back. Another reason is that we are scared of change. We get so used to that particular person and the routine, the familiarity of everything, that we don't want to let that go. Excuse me. We don't want to let that go. We don't want to move on. Some people have in their whole mind that, okay, I don't want nobody else to have this person. I put so much work or effort, invest so much time into this person, so I don't want to leave. I'm just going to stay here. Nobody going to get my man or my woman. I didn't put all this time in. So it's like we keep telling ourselves that, this is going to get better. We get so comfortable in our own way. We get in our own way. We get so comfortable with that person. We don't want to let that person go. And it's hard to let go. It's like they tugging at you all the time, and it's like the moment that you let go or stop talking to that person, you go to missing them. And sometimes we don't miss that person. We miss the routine. Routine is kind of hard to let go. So, yeah.
Boom.
That's it. I was researching about how our brain processes breakup. And because of those endorphins and those things that we experience when we're with somebody we love, when we break up with them, your body misses that feeling, right? So what it does, it tricks you to try to go back by giving you regret. So you start feeling regretful, even though the relationship wasn't good for you, but your body wants it back because of those endorphins that it was experiencing.
Right.
And so when you made the right decision, you start feeling regret. That is something you want to, keep in mind. Yes, Kendall, I'm sorry.
Or you're in a toxic relationship, and you're in a toxic relationship if your body is not missing that. So reverse, you stay because your body is missing that, but you can tell you're in a toxic relationship if your body is not missing that, or you're not missing that.
Okay, I like that perspective.
Because it's almost like you're talking about like muscle memory, like that kind of, you're used to that, and the endorphins, and your body is saying, hey, I miss this person, I'm longing for this person. So you ask for them back, or you decide to make it work because of that. But what if you're in that relationship and you're not missing that person, or you're not missing that? Then you think, oh, well, no, I'm just not missing that person. No, you got to examine that a little further, because it may be some more going. If you like being apart more than you like being together.
Ooh, that's good right there. Ooh, that's good. So you've already mentally, emotionally, physically just disconnected, and that's showing you that you're probably in something toxic. How much of that is probably, I don't know if you guys believe in soul ties, but how many of that is probably even soul ties when you've been intimate with someone, even if it's not physically intimate, but you've been emotionally intimate with someone, and that soul tie is like a glue that keep pulling you back to a person, even when they're not good for you. Do you guys like agree with that?
Yeah, because that I definitely agree with that, because emotionally you can be connected to someone and you're not even spiritually or physically connected to them. But that soul tie is keeping you together and you don't even know why it's keeping you together. But you know that it is. And I know Leroy McKenzie Jr. Hey, Leroy. He was just on my Instagram and came on over, but afraid of being alone. Most people are afraid of being alone or starting over, or the fear of not being in that relationship, or if I'm going to find somebody else. Because some people are still in a relationship because they don't know if they're going to find somebody else. So they're like, I mean, I've heard women say, you know what? Well, it's better. And I almost threw up. I literally heard a woman say, it's better to have a piece of man than no man at all. Like, I heard her say that out of her mouth, you know, and I was like, I'm like, no, ma'am, no, ma'am. You don't want to, but then you have to examine that worth of that person, whether it's a man or woman, because men often say things like that too. Man, it's cheaper to keep her. I might as well, you know, we've been together this long. I'm running here doing all of this, but this is still home base, you know, and that's toxic, where you would rather step out, have a side chick or a side dude. And, you know, this one is paying this bill or getting your car fixed, and this one is doing this and doing that. But then you like, well, I'm not leaving my woman, I'm not leaving my man. But people think that that's just the routine of that relationship, and they don't even understand that that's toxic. And that's the thing about a toxic relationship. It's almost it is controlling your mind, and you don't even realize you're in the toxic relationship until you read a meme or someone says something and you're like, skirt, I think that's me.
Yeah, absolutely. Myron, you wanted to add to that?
No, I'm just speaking on the whole soul tie thing. I definitely believe in that, and that's why you have to be careful who you give yourself to. You have to be careful who you be intimate with and share information with and put that time in with, because once they get hold of that, it's hard to let that go, especially when like I said, when sex coming to part of it, it's really a whole different ball game at that point. So you just have to be careful of who you're talking to and take your time when you're with someone, because some people are in toxic relationships and don't even know it, you know, because they're so into the moment at the time, they can't see it. You know, I've been there before, you know, that I felt it, I kind of knew it, but other people started to see me differently, you know, from the looks on my face, you know, from losing weight, being stressed out, being consistently drained all the time. So the signs are there. It's just that we don't want to pay attention to the signs. We don't want to like own up to it and take accountability for it.
And I do. That's awesome. I mean, both of you guys are making some amazing points. And, you know, I want to go back to what Leroy said about being alone. And I feel like sometimes people are afraid to sit with themselves.
Yeah.
Because if you're not in a relationship, you have to sit with yourself. And when you sit with yourself, that means you got to face your demons. Okay. You got to face all the things in you that's probably not all the way together. And that scares people. They got to deal with that sexual abuse that they had when they was 5 years old. They got to deal with the rejection that they felt in high school when they didn't make the team. They got to deal with, you know, flunking out of college and not making the bed. They got to deal with those things. And they rather, instead of dealing with that and that identity, right, they rather find it in someone else and rely on that person to affirm them and build them up in the places that they didn't take time to build themselves up. And now you have unrealistic expectations in a relationship because you're pulling from your spouse something they can't give you. Okay. You give yourself the opportunity to deal with that. Go see a therapist, go whatever you need to do to get that right, and be okay with being with yourself. And sometimes people, you know, as a single person myself, like they make it seem like being single is such a like, why are you single? Like it's such a disease. And I'm like, because I'm not afraid to sit with myself. I'm not afraid to look myself in the mirror and say, Chidima, you know, you got to work on this and get this together, instead of depending on someone else to do that for me. So when I come together with someone, it's healthy, right? So I know that was a lot, but I just really wanted to mention that.
No, I definitely.
It's so. Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is so true. And I think that people have to be comfortable with themselves. And that's why I don't believe in serial dating. Like, and when I say serial dating, I mean, okay, you break up with this person and, you know, it's a thing out there that people say the best way to get over, you know, your current is with the next. The best way to get over next is with the next. And that's promoting people not having time to heal. You know, because if you're going from one person to the one person and you're not growing and you're not seeing, okay, what was the lesson in this? What did I learn? How can I look at myself and make changes and do things differently? You know, but no, they're not doing that. They're going from the next one to the next one because, like you said, people don't want to sit with themselves and deal with their demons or their insecurities or their trauma or whatever it is. They want to keep going to the next person because that quiet space and that quiet time alone, they're not ready for that. And I know Myron was talking about toxic relationships where, you know, people don't want to acknowledge or they say, okay, no, I'm not in one. What about the relationships where you know it's toxic and you still stay? Like, you know that this is toxic. You took your blinders off. You understand that this is a toxic relationship, but I'm going to stay. And that's a thing that a lot of people do too. Yeah, I know our relationship is jacked up, but I'm just going to stay and see what it does, see what I do. Meanwhile, it's chipping away with you, you know, and there's a difference. And I want people to understand that there's a difference between sticking it out and staying, especially if you're married and you make that commitment. You know, you can't leave at the first sign of anything unless it's abuse or unless it's something that, you know, you got to leave. I don't promote staying if someone, you know, is really emotionally being abused or physically being abused. But you have to be able to see patterns in people. You have to be able to see yourself in the relationship objectively, like take yourself out of it and kind of look through the window of your own relationship to say, okay, hey, what's going on, you know, and then come to a decision and a conclusion with communication with that person and say, okay, hey, look, what's going on? But, you know, nobody wants to be alone. Who wants to grow old alone? You know, who wants to start over? Nobody wants to do those things. But if it's affecting your mind, body, and spirit, then you need to sit down and have a conversation with yourself. And if you don't know how to do that, that goes back to what you said, is people don't know how to be alone. So you can't say, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what's best for me, if you to your mate, if you've never taken the time to find out what you need, what you like, what is best for you. And that's why people can't really communicate that. And then you have the other person over here that's unable to communicate that. So you're trying to get this from this person, they're trying to get this from you, and neither one of you know how to communicate what you need, what's working or what's not working. And then you're wondering why the relationship is not working. Well, you didn't do this, you didn't. Well, what do you need? You know, you ever ask somebody, well, what do you need from me? And they got to get back to you.
They don't know.
If they got to get back to you, then they don't know. So then they need to take that time. But the problem is people just keep going. They don't want to be alone for all the reasons you said and a whole lot more.
I think that's, if I could give you a standing ovation, I would. But I got shorts on, you know, so I'm not matching right now. I'm just playing. But no, that was so good. That was so good. Myron, did you want to add to that?
No, you guys said it. And just add a little bit to it. A lot of people are scared of being alone. They don't know how it feels because they're so used to going from person to person to the point where they don't even know that they need healing. And when you're going from person to person, you're going to accept anybody, you know, because you don't want to be alone. You're not thinking about how this person is or this person's characteristics are being toxic. You're not even thinking about the red flags because you're not used to being alone. So you're not even thinking about all this. You just want somebody else to fill that void that you once left. And it's also due to you trying to prove to this person that they was the problem by moving on so quickly, right? And then on the other side of that, you got people that are toxic. They don't want to change, so they switch partners so they won't have to.
Ooh.
It's gotta, they keep they keep it running.
Maybe fall off my chair. Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
That's a void.
You better say.
That's a void changing. That's a void going to therapy. That's a void going to counseling. And let me just switch my partner so they can, so this person can suffer for another 2-3 years just like the last person.
So they pretty much it's human band-aids.
Right.
Human band-aids.
Toxic by itself. So we just
So-
got to be careful of those people also.
Listen, look, I'm
Yes.
trying to stay in my chair because I'm
That's-
just like, oh my God, like the wisdom
That's
right
good.
now. Something just
good,
dropped. I
Myron.
gotta say this.
That's
Something
good.
just dropped right now. I feel like some people are, and listen, when we're saying this, if you're in a toxic relationship, please don't take this as judgmental or any. We've been through that, so we're talking from experience. And when I say some people, I'm probably talking about myself in the past as well. So please, know that we're telling you the truth in love, and we really are trying to give you some, open up your eyes to really look at your situation differently. But I feel like sometimes some people are addicted to chaos. They're
Yeah.
used to
Yeah.
the up and down. And one thing about
The drama.
a toxic relationship, when it's bad, it's bad. And when it's good, it's real. It feel real good. The good feel real good because you're so used to the bad. So you're like, but
So
we had a
those
good day yesterday,
highs,
right? Say that again.
the extreme highs, low, extreme
extreme
highs
highs
and the
and
extreme
lows.
lows.
Exactly. So it's like you're used to that. So it's like I hear people say when they meet a good woman or a good man that's more peaceful and calm, they're boring. They're boring because you're used to this, right?
Yep.
Like somebody got to be slapping you upside your head or cussing you out because to you that's passion. To you, you're jealous. That means you love me a whole lot, right? It's those kind of things that, really understanding like what love really is and that love is not chaos. Love is not chaos,
Yeah.
right? So Kendall, you want to add to that?
Woo, y'all. I mean, both of y'all between Myron and you just hitting it. He hit it to first base. You took it on over to second base. I think you made a home run.
Go ahead and hit the home run, then,
so
Kendall.
true. And I gotta address Myron because I was about to jump out my seat when he said, "But you go into the next one." And like I tell my clients, and I tell people, you trying to move to another city or move to another man or woman, but you taking you with you, and you're the problem. You can't escape you. So you might as well face you and figure out what's going on with you and get yourself together, have a conversation like, girl or boy, you tripping right now. This is what you need to do. And you really need to talk to yourself because people can give you, if someone came to you being how you are, you would be able to give that person advice and tell them what to do from A to Z. So sometimes people need to have that conversation with themselves, the same one that they would have with someone else. And that's the thing that people don't want to face the truth. But that's where my 3 H's come in. Honesty helps heal. So when you're honest with yourself about who you are first, because that's the thing, when you're in a relationship, it really is not about the other person and what the other person is doing and blaming the other person. It really is taking self-inventory and looking at yourself like, okay, this is what I'm doing, because two people play a part. And you can't allow something to happen if you're not willing to participate in what's going on, right? So it's not always the other person. So you have to look at yourself first. And most people don't do that. Most people say, well, he did this or she did this or he. You got to look at yourself and know how to evaluate yourself and be like, you know what? I'm tripping right now. This is all me. And then you can't get mad at the person when you decide to stay in the foolishness and mess. Like you can't do that. You can decide if this is for me or if it's not, and be able to have the communication needed to express that to your mate. But the problem is most people do not know how to effectively communicate.
Absolutely.
It's not a proper way to communicate because most people just wait to speak and point the finger.
Yeah.
You did this, you did that, but you got to look at yourself because at the end of the day, the only person that you can transform is yourself. The only person that can take their 2 feet and walk away is you. You can't be concerned about someone else. And it goes back to self-love and sitting with yourself and knowing what's needed for you. And Iyanla once said when she ended her 14-year relationship, She said, I choose not to participate because you don't love me the way I need to be loved. And she said, with all her degrees and all her certifications, it took her 14 years to figure that out.
Ooh. Wow, that's good
Deep.
stuff. And I wanted to see if Myron had anything to add before I kind of jump on piggyback on what you just said.
No, you're fine.
That's so good.
I heard the same thing with Ayana, so you're definitely correct on that. Sometimes it just takes us a while to get out of it. And to go back to Dr. Chief's point of us doing this whole event, we're not poking fun at anybody. We've all been through toxic relationships before. I was in one for 7.5 years. A year later, got back into another one. But that's a whole nother story right there, because sometimes God will send you a whole different person, different body with the same characteristics that you left with, to see if you're still going to be there, to see if you're going to see those signs again or recognize those signs again and try to get out. And yet sometimes we're still fools and we still so hey, we're just here to help anyone that we can. We've been through it, we've gone through it, we've heard about it, and you guys got a good team tonight.
Oh, thank you. And we stayed. Some of us stay. I stayed. I was trying to make it work. So don't feel bad if you're in one and you're like, I feel bad. Like, no, this is not what this is about. And if you're feeling like that, we definitely want to acknowledge that. So thank you, Maya, for acknowledging that. And I wanted to piggyback on what you said about toxic people are attracted to people that are very not passive, but very nice. Right. Very nice, kind, giving. That those type of people, they look at them and say, I can manipulate them. Right. And so if you are a very giving person and you get a shirt on your back and all that kind of stuff, toxic people love you. They love you and they try to find a way to control you. Right. And one thing to be careful not to do is don't project your heart. Don't project your heart on other people's heart. Just because you have a certain heart, don't mean they do too. They don't mean their intentions are the same. And I think sometimes if you're a good person, you got a good heart and a big heart. That was me. Everybody, got the best of me. I'm like, oh, I forgive you, all that kind of stuff. And no boundaries around my heart. Just give all to whoever. And I would think everybody means well and everybody wants the best for me. But I had to learn how to love with wisdom. And loving with wisdom means loving with boundaries and saying, I love you, but I'm going to be over here to get your stuff together. Right? You know what I mean? I love you enough to say we can't do this. And I love myself enough to say I deserve better. Right? So I think believe what people show you. I know you're hopeful and you feel like it's going to change. If I just keep pouring into it and I keep showing love, it's going to change. But I talk to these stock traders and all that. They're not going to keep investing in a stock that's not giving them no money. I don't care how much money they put in that stock. If it's bad stock, it's bad stock. If it's a bad ground, you put seed in it, it's not going to grow. And sometimes you just got to know that this is just, I'm doing the right things. It's just not with the right person. Okay. So I did want to say that.
Yeah. And I just want to let everyone know that, don't be hard on yourself, seriously, because everyone goes through it, whether it's now, whether it was in high school, college, grown, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, everybody goes through it because you have two people who want to love. And I'm a firm believer that both people come into the relationship to love. That might be the true intention. But if they know how to love, that's the thing. Because if someone, let's just say, gets married or decide they're not getting married to not allow this to last. The average person, of course, you have your exceptions to everything. But it's the thing of try that person. I think Myron said it earlier. Some people's energy doesn't match your energy, or some people's vibe is just not gelling. So they want to love and they love you, but sometimes love isn't what the gorilla glue that's needed to hold the relationship together. And I don't want anybody, if you're in a toxic relationship right now, we're not saying run out because we don't know your situation. It could be a volatile situation. It could be an abusive situation. And we don't want you to watch this show and say, you know what, I'm in this, I'm leaving, and risk your life. You have to be strategic. You have to sit down and talk to that person. If you feel that you can't because it is that abusive, then maybe have a third party there to protect yourself. So I wanted to definitely say that. But sometimes this person can have the best intention. This person can have the best intention and it's still not be cohesive. And that's one of the signs of toxicity as well, is that you just can't get cohesive with the other person no matter what. This can be and I just really want to stress this, because when we talk about toxic love, a lot of people say, well, something wrong with her or something wrong with him. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Everybody has unhealed issues and trauma. And it's something called a trauma bond. And psychologists often and therapists talk about this, is where your trauma and this person's trauma come together and you're bonded in trauma. And neither one of you got any healing, agents, or you never gone to therapy or counseling or anything like that. And then you come together and both of you are 12 years old, but you're really 40 years old, but you're still in that child body. And I think a lot of people deal with that. So that person can have every intention on loving you properly, and you can have every intention on loving that person properly. But because of maybe past issues or past hurt and pain, it doesn't necessarily have to be from childhood. It could be from the beginning, let's just say, of your relationship, or the first 5 years of the relationship, or what have you. Or it can start toxic right away. And then you have to have that conversation again with yourself. Why? What was going on with me at that time where I saw that and I still decided to stay when that person hit me or yelled at me or called me names? Or why did I decide? What was going on with me? And that's why you always have to refer back to you and not blame the other person. And then when you stop blaming the other person, then you can go into another situation, another relationship, healed and whole. And know, like, this was me. I was wilding out. I need to work on this, because I want to make it clear, not just men are abusive in relationships. Not just men are toxic in relationship. Oftentimes it's the woman, but you always hear about the man being toxic. You hear the woman being full of drama, but you hear the man being toxic. And it could be the other way around. A lot of men with drama, a lot of women who are toxic. So I just wanted to just clear that up real quick.
Yes. So we both play a role in this. It's not just men, it's not just women, it's all of us. We all, we need to all, like I said, sit with ourselves and face our demons and do that work and love ourselves. Self-love is a very big factor when it comes to why we stay. And Myron, Lucky wanted to add something.
No, this was good. I got so much I want to say. Oh my goodness. So I'm doing an event probably, I think next month. It's going to deal with healing and dating, that type of deal. And I'm going to have a therapist on and possibly get another life coach. So on the show. But and one of the things that I want to talk about, or I plan on talking about, is a lot of our toxic ways is coming from our childhood. I think one of you ladies stated that earlier. It comes from our childhood. And if we don't address that, it's going to affect our adulthood. Anytime we're in a relationship, with friendships, relationships, or even at work, it affects us after a while. So if we don't heal that childhood drama or that trauma that we went through, we're going to continue to be hurt, going to continue to carry that burden on us. It's going to get worse throughout your whole life or whomever you're with. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be talking about on my next event that I'm going to do hopefully next month. And another reason why we stay, and I know we haven't talked about this, is that we stay, especially when we have kids with this person, So that's probably one of the toughest situations to get out of when you have kids. You're thinking that, everybody want their kids to grow up in a 2-person household. They want them to do better. They want them to see mom and daddy together, but it's not worth it if they're being raised in chaos or in a toxic relationship. It's not worth it, because now you're creating generational curses right now, because that child is seeing mom and dad argue all the time, getting into it, and it feels good, and I'm speaking from personal experience because I went through that. I was trying to hold on because of the kids, but at the end of the day, I had to do what was best for me, and pretty much saved my life, if you want to look at it that way. So
I love what you said that about the generational curses. And I feel like, when we're in a toxic relationship, sometimes we're the beginning of that generational curse.
right.
We started. When you think about generational curse or cycle, someone started it based on a decision or decision they made or didn't make in their situation. And you have the ability right now to say, you know what? Do I want to create a cycle for my child? Because my parents been together for 40 plus years. I ain't seen no toxic relationship. If I stayed in that, I would have started a cycle with my daughter, and that's all she would have known, and that's all her daughter would have known, and it would have gone down the path. But you have an opportunity, and you did, Myron, to say, you know what? No, I'm not gonna be the beginning of that cycle. I'm gonna break it, right? And I think that's a very powerful position to play.
Sometimes kids just need to see that love. Sometimes it's like I'm saying, like by no means I'm telling anyone to break up with their significant other, or especially if you're in a marriage. But if you have given it your all, and you have even checked yourself and reevaluated yourself, you went to counseling, that type of deal, and it's still not working, then you have some decisions to make. And I always tell people to do what's best for them, do what's going to bring them peace, and do what's going to bring them some healing on the inside, because you're not just trying to heal and do better for yourself, but the people around you is watching as well, especially if you have kids. So you have to be mindful of what you're going through and what you're doing, and your kids watching. They seeing all this toxic behavior, they're seeing all the going back and forth and the physical part of it. So they're going to think that when they grow up, they're going to think that it's all right to do. Not just in the relationship, they can do that in school with their classmates. They can react what you guys have done at home. So you have to be careful of being in these relationships or situations that is no longer serve you in the purpose. When I got out of my toxic relationship, and like people saying, I was pretty much glowing. Started back working out, eating better. I moved out to another state, not on purpose, but things happen. But it was a great thing that I moved. It's funny that I moved, because it's at that moment I asked God, I said, God, you gotta do something. I said, I can't stay in Mississippi, or I can't stay in this area, because I know if I stay here, I'm going to end up going back. And I didn't think that he was going to move from Mississippi for real. So I'm in Dallas, Texas now. So I didn't think that was going to happen. But y'all, when I tell you, when it happened, I had so much peace. I felt like so much was lifted off my shoulders, knowing that I didn't have to go through that every single day. I started opening up a couple of business. I was able to think clearer than I ever have in my life. You know what I'm saying? And just to come home to myself and my peace, and just to be able to sit in that, like you guys were talking earlier, I had time, especially during the pandemic, I had so much time to work on Myron. I had so much time to think about some things, doing this life coaching, doing events. I just had time to think, and I was being creative, and I was writing so much stuff down. And it's all because I got away from that toxic situation, that toxic issues when I was married and when I was dating a young lady out a year after that. And I was just so much, I just can't explain it. Like I had so much, it was just so real for me, and I thank God every single day for getting me out of that situation, for saving me from those situations rather, because I saw things differently. I was able to think differently. What I'm saying? I was able to be happy. So when people see me on social media laughing, joking, and smiling, I went through a lot, laughing, joking, and smiling. People didn't even know. So
wow. Oof. Powerful testimony. Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Kendall,
but that's real, and I appreciate. No, I just appreciate you, Myron, for sharing that as a man, because I like to just break that. I like to see men vulnerable and share their truth and tell their truth, because oftentimes you hear women sharing their truth all the time, but you don't hear the men being vulnerable enough to say, you know what, I was in a toxic relationship, and I was depressed and I wasn't working out anymore. I wasn't feeling good about myself. I asked God to move me. Oftentimes you don't hear men saying that. So I appreciate you, Myron, for acknowledging that, because the myth is that women are the ones that are all broke up when the relationship is over and in a fetal position and they can't move, or they're this way or that way, but you don't often hear the men. But sometimes in the relationship, like when you think about a toxic relationship and you think about your relationship, sometimes, and I want to stress this again, sometimes your relationship is not toxic. It's you that are toxic, and you're bringing that into your relationship.
Ooh.
Right.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? Because somebody might be like, I'm in a toxic relationship, and they're totally blinded by them being the ones who are toxic, and now you're spilling that over into the relationship. So that's why it's so important for people, and I can't stress this enough, to really do the healing on yourself first before you put anybody else through that misery. And sometimes you don't know that it's you that needs the healing, because relationships are a mirror of who you are and what you're going through at that moment. So sometimes it's the toughness and the things that you go through. Those are the things that you're putting on yourself when you're thinking about a relationship. And I want everyone to stop pointing the fingers and saying he did this or she did that. You need to start with yourself first. And I can't stress that enough, because you could be the toxic one. And now you're spilling your poison onto the other person. And then now you're saying this person did this and this person did that. And you're totally oblivious to what you're doing to yourself and to the relationship. Because ladies, sometimes it's not the man, you know, and sometimes the man gets a bad rap. Sometimes, ladies, it's you. And you really got to look at that. Sometimes it's us. You know, whether, you know, for whatever reason, healing. Yes, sometimes it is the man, but oftentimes the finger is pointed. If you start, like they say, if you point a finger, look where the thumb is coming right back to you. So you got to start with yourself first, because if you heal, and then you can approach the relationship differently. Your communication style will be different. What you get mad at, what you choose to argue about is totally different, because you're at peace and you've done your healing. Now, you have no responsibility for the other person. They have to do their own healing. So if you're entering a relationship, and we talked about this last night. Yes. So if you've done your healing and the other person didn't do their healing, then it's not going to work. Both people have to be. And when people enter relationships, they want to know your sign and your favorite color and what you like to do for fun. But they're not saying, hey, have you healed? Do you have childhood trauma? Have you been working on yourself? Have you ever gone to therapy or counseling? People are asking the wrong questions when they get into relationships. And that's the problem right there. Because if we're grown, then we have to go into relationships grown. You got to ask about credit scores. You got to ask about counseling and therapy. You got to ask about, are you close to your mama and daddy? Do you have any friends? Like, you got to ask those questions. Yeah. Who cares about the zodiac sign?
What's
Who cares about?
You better say it.
Right. All of that foolishness. Who cares about, you know, when last time you went, got on a plane or went skiing? Like, those are things later on down the line. And people always say, well, I don't want to talk about that. And I always say, if you can swap spit, you can swap information. You can get butt naked, or you can have sex with somebody or kiss somebody, but you can't ask them nothing like, have you been to therapy? There's a problem. So you're already setting yourself up for not being able to communicate and not be able to talk about what's real in the relationship and what's real going on with people.
Right.
You better go ahead, Remix Coach. That's all I got to say. You better go ahead, Lady Motivator. Okay. Lady Motivator spent some wisdom tonight. Myron J. Oh my goodness. I mean, you know, another question I asked is, did you break your soul ties? Because I need to make sure when you with me, you're not imagining somebody else.
Right.
You know, like, so it's
then somebody gonna say, what's that?
They don't know what that is.
They don't know what a soul tie is. Then you got
Run! Joking. Good. I mean, amazing stuff. And I think that's the meat. That's the important stuff, is those questions and really getting to the heart of a person. Yes, they look good. I know they fine. Like, come on, like, but that's important. But we got to get a little deeper than that. And we can't be too touchy-feely fleshy about things that we don't go into the spirit, the mind, the emotion, and the mental as well. So I couldn't have said it better. I want to talk to my audience, though, because I see people watching. I see some comments. I want to thank y'all, first of all, for tuning in. I want to make sure that if you have any questions, that you have an opportunity to do that. Feel free to put in the chat. If you're loving this, tell us so. And if you want us to go an extra 10 minutes, because we got 8 minutes left, let us know. We want to hear from you. But please feel free to, put your questions in the chat. This is a conversation amongst us all, and we don't want to leave anybody out. So, Kendall, you mentioned some things earlier, and I wanted to make sure that we're taking you on a journey. So we initially talked about what a toxic relationship is. We talked about why we stay. Now we're going to talk about what are the consequences of staying, right? Because some people may be okay with being in a relationship. They may say, I'm all right with it. I'm good with the evil I know. I'm good with the evil I know. I want to stick with that. I don't want to venture out and find somebody worse than him or her. I'm going to stick with this, right? But I can't tell you how many men and women I know that are telling their stories from the grave, okay? Because they stayed in a toxic relationship, whether physically that their spouse harmed them or physically their body attacked them, right? Because when you go through toxic relationships, all of that negativity actually penetrates. It penetrates your tissues, your bone, your muscles, everything in your organs. And I know that a lot of women in my lifetime that have developed cancer and different types of diseases because they were in really bad, nasty relationships that they didn't want to leave because of the children or financial dependency or, whatever. And their body started attacking them. They started to get sick. They started to deal with mental issues. They started to deal with, struggling at work or school or something to those nature. So there's a lot of, consequences to saying, I'm going to stay here that are, not worth your life. So I did want to kind of put that out there to see if you guys wanted to add, to that.
The whole
Myron.
No, I'm just gonna be brief. Staying in a situation like that, to your point, is very draining and it's very stressful. And the reason people get sick because your body's not healthy enough to fight off all those ailments because you don't have the strength to because you're going through these toxic relationships. You're being drained. You're being stressed out all the time. And like I stated before, we have to recognize when we're toxic as well, and we have to recognize when someone else is being toxic towards us and try to either fix that situation or find a way to, like Kendall said earlier, strategically get out of it or move out the way because you have a life to live. People are depending on you. So we can't afford you to get hurt or sick or anything like that. So please take care of yourself. I always say I go by forgive and live. Whenever you're going through these situations and you're trying to get out of it, or if you're one of those people that have gotten out of it, forgive that person, not for them, but for yourself, so you can continue to live a better life for you and the life that God wants you to live. So please remember that.
Forgive and live.
Thank you. Forgive and live. Y'all get the t-shirt. When the t-shirt's coming out?
Hey, don't jump.
Get the t-shirt. The 3 H's. We need a t-shirt for that too.
I'm gonna do the business coaching. I need Myron's t-shirt to drop when that book's drop, so we could, you can double that money. We're gonna talk.
Hey, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. That's strategy.
And I see how you plugged in Gorilla Glue. Kendall.
Yeah, I heard that earlier. I caught that.
I said, let's not go there, please. Forgive and live.
I was riding for her though. I was riding for her. I was like, y'all not gonna call her that. Everybody makes mistakes, and just like her, I call her Tessica. I don't call her the Gorilla Glue girl. I call her Tessica. Just like she made a mistake, even in a relationship, people make mistakes. People misstep and misjudge and do things that we deem as stupid or dumb. But it's a part of life. And everyone that attacked her saying she was stupid or dumb, we've all done something. If you want to call it stupid or dumb, I don't call that. It's they're learning experiences. I don't believe in stupid or dumb decisions or failures. I believe in learning and growing in whatever it is. So just like she did that in relationships is that way as well. And I really want to stress the fact that, toxic relationships can be microaggressions. It doesn't have to be something, and I really want people to understand this. It doesn't have to be something as drastic as somebody knocking you upside of your head. It doesn't have to be as drastic as someone dragging you down the street or cursing you out or cursing your mama and them out. It doesn't have to be, it could be someone that's holding maybe sex against you. It could be someone that is maybe, if it's a blended family, talking about your children. It could be someone who is that you're always arguing with, or someone who's hanging up on you all the time when they want to talk, and then if they don't want to hear what you have to say, they're disconnecting the call or hanging up on you or not responding to your calls or not responding to your texts if you're in a solid relationship or a marriage. Or it could be someone who ignores you. You could be in the same room or the same house. You've heard people say, I was in the same house with he or she and we didn't talk for a week. That's toxic. Some people think stuff like that is normal. Oh, it's because I was mad. Oh, because he was mad or she was mad. No, that's toxic. You should not be more miserable than you are happy. What'd you say?
No, I'm just saying. Then they be in the same household, walking around each other like they're roommates or something, like they're enemies or something. Like that's not cool.
Right.
I might not wake up in the morning. I might not come home safely at night when I come home to you. So I might not pick up my phone the next time. So you just have to be careful. And we're not saying to just look over what a person did. We're saying still communicate your feelings effectively.
Exactly.
You have to come up with a solution. But if you're not going to come up with a solution, there's no problem. There's no reason of still being mad or arguing over a certain situation if you're not going to come up with a solution.
Exactly.
I had a client before that stated that she went through toxic relationships before. So when she got a man that was actually doing good by her and it was a healthy relationship, she felt like it was something wrong. That he was cheating, he was doing something. I said, stop thinking that way just because you went through a toxic relationship. With someone else that everyone's supposed to be toxic. And they put you in love. If you're not being toxic towards me, you don't love me. Or you don't care about me. You know what I'm saying? And so we just it's just a whole mind thing that goes on to the point where we think that we have to be in a toxic relationship in order to actually have a strong foundation. And that's not what it is.
I think that's a great point. I completely agree with that. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. And I just wanted to stress that there is a difference, because I don't want people in a relationship or a marriage just going through a rough patch and you think it's toxic because maybe it's yelling, fussing, arguing, you hanging up, you mad. Sometimes that is just a rough spot and you lost ways of communicating with one another.
Right.
And that's totally different from a toxic relationship, and I just really, because if you're another person and that person is another person, you're not always going to agree. You're not always going to say the right things. You're not always going to be happy with the person and the decisions that they make. You're going to go through something. Anybody that has been in a relationship or a marriage for a certain amount of time knows that you're going to have to go through something. Those are things called hurdles in your relationships and barriers stopping you from communicating with one another. That's totally different than toxic. I don't want somebody out here that's, maybe having a bad patch and you go home and you say, or you look next to you and say, we're in a toxic relationship. No, it might not be that. You might just be going through a rough patch. Now, if that rough patch lasts 5 years, or like Myron said, 7 years, then that's something totally different. But sometimes that first year of marriage, that first 2 years of marriage is rough, especially if you've had illnesses or deaths or extenuating circumstances within that, then that's going to cause someone to be different. But you have to look at patterns of people. You have to really look how people operate and how they fight. And a lot of people don't look at how people fight. And the person that I'm talking to probably is the person that is reckless with their mouth or with their hands or something like that. But you have to look at that. And that's so important to see how people resolve issues and problem solving and all of that. Those are ways and things for you. Myron talked about red flags earlier. Those are red flags that you need to look at. You're not going to, I don't care how perfect you think you are, you're never going to find a perfect person because you're not perfect yourself. It's finding that happy balance and finding the best mate for you.
I think that's awesome. Really, really good point. And I thank you for clarifying that as far as and I think that's why I stayed in my marriage as long as I did, because people said marriage was hard. I didn't realize there was a difference between hard and toxic. I thought that was how it was. So I just I'm just dealing with it. That's what marriage, I'm just gonna keep working through it. I didn't know the difference. And I think that's important for people to know, that to be able to see those patterns and know those cues and clues if they're in one. And so this is what I do want to add, because I'm a woman of faith. I believe in God. I know everybody doesn't have that same belief, but that's the lenses in which I make my relationship decisions. Okay. And one of my favorite scriptures is 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7. And it talks about what is love. And I feel like there are times when people are in toxic relationships because they don't really know what love is. They haven't seen it. They don't know what it feels like. To Myron's point, they feel like it's something up with you because you being too kind to me. Like there's something wrong with that. That happened in my marriage. I was fake and I was pretending because I was always happy, right? And so people can see things like that and think it's something wrong. So I wanted to quickly, and I'm going to just do this real quick because I know we're running low on time, and I definitely want to give you and Myron more time to talk and share more about, what you do for those that tuned in late. But in 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7, it says, love is patient, is kind, is not jealous, is not boastful or bragging, prideful, rude, easily angered. If you read that, you can literally make a checklist for yourself. If you really don't know what love is, that can become your checklist. And you can simply just go through and check off the things that say, yep, my partner is this way. Yep, my partner is this way. And if you can't check off anything, chances are you're probably in a toxic relationship. Now, there is a caveat to that because no one's going to check off everything. No one here has the capability of walking in perfect love. We all walk in love the best way we can. But I believe the only perfect love is the love that we have from our Heavenly Father, right? So, but for the most part, you should be able to check off some things on that list to say, yeah, my partner is demonstrating characteristics of love. And if you're not able to check that off, then that's when you start needing to consider like whether or not you're in something toxic. So that's just for those of you that really just need something like a simple guideline. I would just suggest that. So Kendall, you wanted to add?
Oh, I was saying, but again, that thumb pointing back to you when you're pointing at someone else, because you said you have to look at that to see if your mate knows how to love. They're checking it off in Corinthians, but you got to look at yourself.
That's true. That's true.
Are you boastful?
Right.
Are you patient? Are you kind? Are you, bragging, and are you doing that? And I think it always comes back to you. That's the thing, because what people innately want to see if they meet the checklist. Do you meet the checklist? Would you marry yourself? If you were the way you are right now, would you be in a relationship with you? That's the thing. And I think people have to get that out of their head, that they have to look at the checklist for that person to say, does this person meet the criteria? Do you meet the criteria, boo? Do you, and that's really what you have to look at, because if you look at it from that lens first, then that's what you're going to attract.
So it's like accountability piece. Right. And it's also, so it's two sides. Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
I love that.
But
Thank
most
you
people
so much.
don't do that. You're welcome. Most people don't do that though. They just want to worry about, and I know publicly with the comedian B. Simone, she was just under fire because she was saying some of the stuff that I say. My daughter showed me. I said, I'm sorry, they're dragging her, but I agree with her. She was saying that if you're asking, I'm just paraphrasing, you're asking a man for, if he has good credit, if he has this Porsche, let's just say if he has this, and you're wondering, but do you have that? You can't ask for something you don't have. If you want somebody who is loyal and you're not loyal, then you need to look at yourself. If you want somebody with good credit, but your credit is jacked up, then start with fixing yours. You're worrying about the other person having a Porsche or a Benz or and all of that, and you're riding the bus. There's nothing wrong with riding a bus, and there's nothing wrong with wanting an upgrade. But all the things you want from someone else, have that for yourself first, because that's who you're going to attract. Because if you're in a Benz, you're not going to attract someone who's on the bus. They might see you ride by the bus stop and say, hey, but you're going to attract what you have, because there's a certain type of quality that is going to come to you because you're exuding quality. Like, I've never had anybody come at me sideways, trying to approach me or talking this or that, because I'm not holding myself in that way. So you attract who you are. Like, no lie, whether it's fake or phony, people are like, sister, queen, they're respectful. They're not coming to me, raggedy, and if you're raggedy yourself, and it doesn't mean you have to just watch you at all times and take accountability for yourself. Now that doesn't say that if somebody is not doing that, these women have a right to be called out in their name, because that's not the case either. But you have to watch yourself first and see how people respond to you. Because sometimes if you're getting the same thing all the time, then it's probably you. And you need to figure out what's going on with you and why you're attracting what you're attracting, or why you're selecting what you're selecting.
And I was going to say that piece, because the other side of the coin is you do attract who you are, but sometimes people get attracted to you that's not really who you are. So now it's about how you react, right? So to Myron's point, he went through it again. So he was saying maybe that's God's way of, I forget what the point you said, but sometimes we get presented with a similar spirit or a similar person as a test to see, are you going to react differently? If you truly have grown, are you going to choose different? Right. And I think so it's the attracting and it's the reacting. It's the combination of the two. So that you don't think it's something wrong with you when you attract somebody raggedy. It's just they just happen to slip through the cracks, Yeah. But at the same time, like choosing differently.
No,
say that again. Go ahead.
I'm laughing because you said they slipped through the cracks. Now, what I call that, because every woman got a man who slips through the cracks, but what I call that is community service. Every woman does community service. Every woman dust them off, shine them up, fix their credit, teach them how to do this, show them how to do that, take them this place, and we dust them off and shine them up for the next woman. That's community service. So every woman has done community service.
So I just want to say this.
Look, Myron comes on with a straight face. Look, he comes on like, I just want.
Let me break it down.
I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing. Go ahead, Myron.
But no, you ladies are definitely correct. I want to say to people before we get off, and this is something my dad passed last year, but this is something that he told me before. And he used to always tell me, he's like, be happy. I would make sure you're happy at the end of the day. Life is too short not to be happy. And what goes with that is peace, right? So if you're in a relationship or you're in a situation and you don't have happiness or you're not at peace, then you're in the wrong relationship. I'm sorry to tell you that. I'm sorry to break that news to you. But living life and being with someone is all about being happy and being peaceful. Because if you're not happy and if you're not at peace, then the people around you, your kids, whomever, they won't be happy or have peace either. And it's all based off of your energy and the energy of the person that you're with also. So make sure you're happy at the end of the day. Make sure you're doing what's best for you. Make sure you're doing what's going to, be a great thing for you. And we all been through this situation before. I know it's hard to let go, but letting go can also be a blessing in disguise and you don't even know it. So there's so many blessings on the other side of letting go. I'm not telling anybody just go ahead and just let people go immediately. But I'm just speaking from experience. There's so much blessing, so many blessings, so many great things on the other side of fear and on the other side of peace and having that peace. So take care of yourself at the end of the day.
All right, Pastor Myron. Y'all go, pass out the collection plate. We need to collect some offerings tonight because that was good. Very good point.
As you're talking about in that, and we shared that moment because your dad passed last year. My dad passed a year and a half ago. So we share that commonality. So my prayers, I know that's rough. And I saw your post, that's rough. So I just want you to know I'm praying for that, because that's not easy. But this is the thing, when we're talking about religious or spiritual or Christians or whatever your faith is, if you believe in God, right? This is the hard part, because I struggled with this. This is the hard part. If you're in a toxic relationship, right? But then you know that God put that relationship there to grow you, to heal you. Even though it's toxic, it's stretching you. You're growing, you're healing, you're learning more about you. You're learning the things that you don't like about you or that needs improvement. It's when you're dealing with people of faith, it's like, okay, God put this here for this reason. And maybe I'm the one in the relationship, whoever's in the relationship, messing it up. So trying to say, okay, is this did God bring this together? Or did my broken pieces bring this together? Or because I know I heard God say it, but then in trying to find that, and I think people of faith always have that struggle. Like, it's because this seems like it's of God. When it started, it was definitely God. God orchestrated this. I can show you the facts. I can tell you how that he orchestrated this. And then you get into it, and then situations happen or things happen along the way. And it's almost like, okay, is this toxic, or is it me, or is it God, or is it this? And I think a lot of people stay to try to struggle, especially with people of faith, because they don't want to divorce, or they want to make sure they're doing the right thing, and they're asking to wait to hear from God to see when it's time to move or when it's time to leave. And I think that the people of faith that are watching can understand that, because if you pray without ceasing, and if you're fasting and you're waiting, then sometimes they stay in that holding pattern. But then God doesn't want you to be in a situation that takes your peace or steals your joy, or there's infidelity, because that's toxic too. If you know your man or woman is cheating on you all the time, and you just say, oh, girls will be girls, boys will be boys, and you know that, you deserve so much better. That's toxic. So when we think about toxic, people always just think about the abuse part or the yelling, but certain things are still toxic. And the best way I can describe it is if you're crying more than you're laughing.
I love that. Thank you so much, Kendall. Thank you, Myron, too, just for your transparency, and also my condolences for your loss for your father. I did want to mention that. So for both of you guys, I just really, really appreciate you sharing your personal experiences and your heart with everyone tonight. And again, feel free to, put your questions in the chat if you have any. We're going to wrap up because we went way over, but I think this is worth the time. I really do. And I feel like some of you are watching that's in a toxic relationship right now, or somebody that is. I want you to stop what you're doing right now, and I want you to share this with them. This is on YouTube as well. They don't have to be on Facebook or social media to watch it. Go to my YouTube channel, Author Chi, like the book Author, CHI. See my name right there. And look me up. You'll be able to find my YouTube channel and share it with someone, because I think what everyone said tonight, Myron, Kendall, it's going to really, really change some lives, change his perspective. And that's the goal for tonight. So I do want to close with this is, we talked about all of the signs of toxic relationship. We talked about why we stay. We talked about consequences. Now we got to wrap up with, what do you do now that you know you're in one and you're at that crossroad and you're saying, I got a decision to make. I don't know what the steps are to make it, right? I want us to briefly kind of share with you what you can do if you find that you are in a toxic relationship. Kendall mentioned this earlier, and she talked about communicating. When you're in a toxic relationship, communication is super important. And communicating what's hurting you. And sometimes we don't do a good job at that. And we kind of like deal with the pain internally, and we don't communicate to give that person opportunity to reflect, change their behavior, and attempt to do better. So I think if you find that you're in one, if you haven't had a real, session where you communicated how you feel, please do that. Please do that. And I guess I'll open up the floor for you all to share what are some things that our viewers can do if they find that they're in a toxic relationship?
I would definitely, first of all, it's all about recognizing that you're in a toxic relationship, knowing what you're doing as well, and some of the your toxic ways, realizing, evaluating some of your toxic ways, and the other person as well. So I will always tell people to do counseling or therapy. Granted, I didn't do it during my situation, my time, but I knew that I was in the wrong situation, wrong relationship. I knew that I needed to get out, and I knew that I was too far gone to even get to counseling or therapy. I felt like that wasn't going to help. I was just too far gone. But it wasn't until after everything was over there I started to go and started to get better and to work on me and myself and my healing even more. Sometimes we think that we're healed and we really not, especially if you haven't seen a therapy or because you may think that you're healed right now until you get in another relationship and you see that you're still the same person that you were last time. And that's pretty much coming from not seeking help. And if you go to therapy, if you go to or counseling or whatever, it's okay to go together, but go separately first. Both people need to go separately and go in there with an open mind and then do counseling together to figure out what's going on. But if you see that you have done that already and nothing has changed, again, like we stated earlier, that's when you know that you're in a toxic relationship. You need to find a way to remove yourself strategically from that relationship the best way you can. Again, like we said earlier, we want to tell anybody to up and leave, but we're telling you to be happy. We're telling you to be at peace. If you're not having that and you're walking on eggshells every single day, then you just have to make the decision to move on. It's hard, it's tough. We've all been there several times over probably, but we made it out. We did what we had to do. And now I'm pretty sure that everybody is working on themselves. Everybody is working on healing. And because healing, just know healing is a ongoing thing. It's not a one-stop shop. It's not, okay, I'm healed, I'm better now, so it's over with. No, it's an ongoing thing. You're going to heal from a lot of different things, more in relationships as you go. But I would always tell a person do what's best for them. But I don't want a person to, I don't want that do what's best for them ends up being you staying in that toxic relationship. Some people are wasting so many years because they want to stay because, well, I'll just wait till the kids graduate, or I'll just wait till I find a better job, wait till I save up so much money, whatever the situation may be. They will continue to stay miserable every day, every year, every week because of those reasons. So be careful, be mindful of what you're doing. Again, I am a life coach. If you want to talk to me, just contact me at MyronJTheCoach.com, or you can follow me on all social media outlets at Myron J. The Coach, and I'll be more than happy to assist you and have a conversation about whatever's going on today or just in general.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Myron. I'm gonna put your handle up so people can find you.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can see it here. Oh, I misspelled. That's supposed to say the coach, right? Myron J. The Coach. All right. Kendall, I guess while I'm fixing my little typo, did you want to add anything?
Well, first I want to say, Myron, that was good. That was definitely great coaching, great advice. I would have folks before, if they're in a toxic relationship and they want to leave and they don't know how, the first thing, of course, is acknowledging, like, I'm in a toxic relationship. And sometimes that's not easy to say if you're in it, right? But then also, we're not saying leave your relationship. It's totally up to you. Myron said it. Author Chief said it, and I said it. It's clear. It is up to you. It is your decision. We're just here trying to give the information. So the first thing I would suggest you do is plan to leave. Don't just leave because you're sick and tired right now, unless you're being physically abused, unless you're in danger. And thank you for putting that. That's what I was going to say. Unless you're in danger, then you can't plan to leave and leave right away. But communication, and it's not always easy if the other person can't communicate or if it's a violent situation. But if it's just a toxic relationship, you're arguing over the slippers in the middle of the floor every day, and it's really not about the slippers in the floor, you're bringing up the past and you're dealing with this and you're crying and you're all of that kind of stuff. And if that's continuous, then have that conversation with the other person. Be honest and upfront. Honesty helps heal. And then plan to leave, strategize, and say, okay, this is what I can do, because don't want you to set yourself up to try to leave, and then you're homeless or you can't afford it, or there's school, so you really want to plan to leave. And also speak to your friends, you know, those friends, those trusted friends that are tried and true, that you can trust, the friends that are like family, or the family that you can trust. Tell them, hey, I'm in this situation, you know, and I just can't do it for my health anymore. Have a conversation, because you'll be surprised at people that are there for you. And like Myron, I'm a life coach also. You can contact me at livingtruelivingyou.com at any time, social media platforms. My name, Kendall Anise. I'll definitely, you know, help you, because like Myron, I mean, I agree with Myron. Like Myron said, you know, you're wasting your years, you're wasting your moment, you're wasting your times, and you don't know when God is going to take you out of here. Let's just be clear. And do you want to die unhappy and miserable and in a toxic relationship? And that's real life. You know, and if this time didn't show you now that life is precious, that your life is precious and you matter. Now, it may not be easy. It may be difficult. It may be a struggle financially. It may be a struggle physically, emotionally. You're going to have that soul tie. You're going to have that muscle memory where you're going to want that person. All of that's going to happen. But reflect back to a time where something was very rough or something was very hard and you didn't think you could do it, but you did it. Or that other relationship that you were attached, that you thought that you would never get out of it and you would miss that person, but you're thriving right now. Or you're, you know, you were thriving and then you got into maybe another situation. And then I would also suggest to seek therapy for yourself and get your strength back, because this relationship might have taken your strength, but it didn't take you. If you're still here, then you can, you know, get some help for yourself. And I'm always about self-help first, and then you can go on further, you know, with the other people and all of that. But first, take care of you, but just make sure you're safe, and make sure that you're clear about what you want to do, because you don't want to be in a toxic relationship and be like, oh, okay, it got hard out here, I was just playing and come on back. You want to make sure that you're gone, you know, completely, and then take a moment for yourself and heal before you get into another relationship.
Very, very well said. And there's someone in the comments said they want everybody's books. They want to keep in contact with you guys. I do not blame them. I mean, the wisdom that came through tonight was so healing. I learned a lot for sure, and I'm sure our viewers did as well. So, you know, don't worry. We're gonna all come into the chat app tonight. We're gonna drop our links, our websites, everything that you need to stay in contact with us. We're gonna kind of you know, check in with you guys and answer any outstanding questions after we drop off tonight. So thank you, Terry, for asking the question. Shayna, I love you, girl. Thank you for tuning in. Leroy, thank you for your comments tonight and being part of this discussion. So I did want to close with this about the leaving part, that it is difficult to leave, but it's not impossible. Everybody on this panel has gone through a divorce, and so we know the pain of having to walk away from someone we loved. I had to walk away with a 3-month-old. I was building a 5-bedroom home. I had a lot at stake. I didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't know. I ended up living with my sister, and I was sleeping on her guest bedroom floor because she didn't have a bed. She didn't know I was coming, you know. But when you're desperate for peace, sometimes you don't consider all of the what ifs. You just run with what's left of yourself. Run with what's left of your life. And I had to run with a 3-month-old baby. And I'm going to tell you guys something. It's hard, but it's not impossible. And on the other side of that was this life that I didn't know I could have. It's this joy that, and it wasn't because I got into another relationship. Let me make that clear. It was because I was able to sit with myself and really be content with the way my life was right now. You know, and I'm saying that to say this: if you're afraid of your future, if you're afraid of where am I going to live, think about that, but don't let that stop you, because faith is stepping out And I guarantee you there's going to be another step waiting for you that you didn't know was going to be there. Those resources, that support system, that new job, so you can take better care of your family financially. You don't know what's waiting for you when you finally decide that you love yourself, when you finally decide that you want better for your child, when you finally decide that I love you enough to walk away so you can get the healing. I'm going to stop trying to be God for you. Hello, somebody. Right? So that I wanted to add that part because I wanted to give you hope that walking away is sometimes a blessing waiting for you that you didn't even know you could have. Okay. So I want to give Myron and Kendall any final words. I mean, people are loving you guys. They are like, I love it. They're enjoying tonight. They want to stay in touch with you. Can you just one more time share with us how they can stay connected and reach you?
Yes, you can connect with me on all social media platforms, Myron J the Coach. Follow me on definitely on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And also you can check out my website, myronjthecoach.com. On all my social media platforms, once my book is finished and ready, I will be putting the links out there so you guys can go get it. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys for having me. Dr. Chi and Dale, y'all have been great. I've learned something from you guys as well. So blessing to you guys on knowing we're going to do more business and more shows in the future to help somebody.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, Myron.
Yes.
Thank you again for your transparency. It's always good to hear that male perspective and just a man that's doing the work and that's walking in your truth and in your healing. I mean, that's so inspirational. We need more of that. So thank you for being that representation tonight. I really appreciate you. And so, Kendall, did you want any final words?
Yeah.
Coach.
Again, I am Kendall Anise, and I'm just so thankful. And Myron, thank you for referring me. This is not going to be the last time that you're going to see us together, because I think it's awesome. And I saw Myron J. There are tons of male life coaches, but I was drawn to him and his message, and I could see the honesty in you, Myron. I can see the compassion. I can see the hurt, the growth, the vulnerability. And I was attracted to that in, this brotherly, sisterly, professional way. So, I'm excited about your future, and I'm excited about that book. I wanted to say that first. But you can reach me on you're welcome, on all social media platforms, Kendall Anise, Kendell, right there, Lenice. And my books are available on Amazon.com. You can just type in the search Kendall Anise and they'll all come up. I have my personal journey of peace. It's called a 30-day guided journal that's coming out in a month. So you're going to be able to write. It's going to be a workbook so you can get back your personal peace. So how beautiful is that? You can get out of that toxic relationship and you can get my workbook to get back to your personal journey of peace. And also, if you want to schedule a free consultation, a life coaching consultation, and you want to just have a conversation with me about whatever you're going through, you can go to livingtruelivingyou.com or ladymotivator.com. But you're going to, with livingtruelivingyou.com, you go right in the service section and you book your free consultation for sure. And I just also want to encourage everyone that you can do it. Just remember who you are and whose you are. And if you need to get out of the relationship, you can do that. And don't think that you can't, and don't allow people to tell you you can't. But the Living True Living You is where they do that. Yep, the Living True. So livingtruelivingyou.com. Reach out, and I just want you to be okay with you. So whoever's watching, I want you to be okay with you. And if that means that you have to stand alone and be by yourself and not have a relationship, then so be it. It's okay. And name it. It's a toxic love, a toxic relationship. You're staying because of this. So I suggest that you write down, I'm staying in the relationship because of this. That way you can see it in front of you, and then you can look at it and read it and know that you're talking about yourself. And if you can look at it, then you can leave and you can move on to have a happy, whole, healthy life. And that will in turn give you a positive, healthy, whole relationship in the future.
I love it. And thank you, Kendall, for sharing your heart with us as well, your wisdom. We really appreciate you. Like you said, PB&J. Okay, we stuck forever now. Can't get rid of me. I'm gonna find where you live.
I told her, I said, all right, we stuck together like peanut butter and jelly now. It's PB&J.
So I really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much for just, what you shared tonight. So much wisdom, so much good that came out of tonight. So I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. Don't go anywhere. Okay, I have some final words for our viewers. And so I want to, first of all, thank everyone that tuned in tonight. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for, just the love. And also thank you in advance for sharing this with someone. Take a minute, hit the little share button, create a watch party on your page. Someone needs to hear this message. Okay, so we want to get this message out. Again, I'm Author Chi. You see my website here if you want to continue to stay in contact with me. I also offer one-on-one coaching for individuals that have gone through a divorce or a breakup. So if you are in the position where you have left a relationship already and you need that guidance on how to pick up the pieces and redesign your best life, I'm your girl. You want to reach out to me. I can help you do that. And then also going to my YouTube channel, Author Chi, and subscribing as well, so you can stay up to date with any content that I'll be sharing with you, such as Author Chi Talks and other the Divorce Diaries, where I share like some one-on-one communication with you and some tips on how you can rebuild your life after a divorce or breakup. So I want to thank you all again for tonight. My prayers are with you for those of you that are tuning in tonight, and it's a hard decision that you have to make. My prayers with you that you will make the best decision that's right for you and the decision that will bring you peace. So again, thank you, and I'll see you again.